another story about this mess that's called New York cannabis law. That I mean, when I'm reading this, I'm thinking these people didn't learn a damn thing from the screw-ups in California. But nonetheless, they're going forward. And this involves the state law that was passed, and they gave authority to these administrative agencies. And what the allegation in this is they overstepped their bounds. And this involves social equity. We've talked about this many times in the past. I think there's a Dormant Commerce Clause attack on social equity in New York. And this is an attack on the social equity program. The state law mandated that anybody who is going to apply for a cannabis license has to notify their local municipality. Here in California, it's set up that you have to get permission from the locals before you can apply to the state. In New York, before you apply to the state, you've got to notify the locals. I don't know that it really changes a whole lot of dynamics here, but that's at the heart of this pissing match we got going on here. And there's 4 applicants for these adult use retail dispensary licenses. And one of these agencies decided that they were going to exempt a certain group of social equity applicants from having to notify the local jurisdiction. And the argument is that if you give them a provisional license and then they can go to a local jurisdiction and announce that, hey, we're here we got a state license, that they can then declare a location. And anybody that's already in line to get a license that's got a location and it's too close to them, then they have to close it down. They have to walk away from the game. So the way this is working out, and I think we've talked about it a couple times, there's an administrative law loop that you've got to exhaust all your administrative remedies before you can go to what I call the real court, where a real judge can make you stop and fine you and all kinds of other stuff. But there's an off-ramp in the New York administrative law world that if you're claiming what the state's doing is unlawful or arbitrary and capricious, and you can go right to civil court and you can ask to stop. And lo and behold, what these 4 applicants did was file a lawsuit claiming that what the agency did in exempting this group of social equity applicants from the local notice requirement was unlawful, and it's also arbitrary and capricious. Surprise, surprise, because that's the off-ramp they were allowed to take. And their complaint involves this exemption. Did the agency have the authority granted by the legislature to make up these new set of rules? And their argument is no, it exceeded their authority. You've got to go back to the legislature to get that authority. Now, I don't know how this is going to play out because I haven't heard from the state. They're not giving any comment, but they will respond to this. And what this group has asked is that they want an injunction stopping any more applications being granted to these social equity applicants, and anybody that's got one already, they have to stop operations. Now, this is one more turd in the punch bowl. New York cannabis regulations and businesses rolling out. And what we've learned here in California is that there is no end to people who will piss and moan about any effort to do anything to help anybody in this industry. Now, one of the problems that we've had since the civil rights movement, and I don't know if you call it a backlash in the courts, is that they no longer allow you to give anybody a leg up based upon these protected classes. And that would be race, religion, things like gender, stuff like that. But they found ways around it by saying, oh, if you have a cannabis conviction, and they know predominantly that hit the black community more than the white community. It's their way of trying to give a leg up, if you will, to people who have suffered the most harm from these draconian cannabis laws. This is one more way that it's being attacked. And I got to tell you, I have both social equity and non-social equity clients. And this is a problem any way you look at it. If you're social equity, you're just being stomped on unnecessarily. And if you're not social equity, view this as being unreasonable and unlawful, and you don't have the right to set up some special class. So we'll see this play out. I want to throw it back at you because this is just an ongoing problem across the industry, and I don't think I have an answer. I'm just pointing out the problem. So back at you. What do you guys all think about this?
I mean, New York just keeps on shooting itself in the foot every opportunity it gets. I feel like there's a whole episode of Harlem Nights, and it just shooting everybody in their pinky toe.
Harlem Nights, Jason with the references.
You like that, Rico?
Man.
You like that?
I like that.
Harlem, New York. You know what I mean?
But yeah.
Well, they're certainly not learning from us. Okay.
I don't think they're learning from anybody, Dale. They don't even learn from themselves.
No.
They sounded great before anything happened.
Before the first person schlepped down to court and said, hang on for a second, you can't do this. And now we're just off and running. And it's just a mess. And the trap is winning all day long when you have these sort of pissing matches inside the regulated industry.
Mm-hmm. And yet they want to tout like there was just they raided like 70 stores yesterday in New York, claiming that they closed them down. Okay, illegal dispensaries.
It's whack-a-mole. We've been playing whack-a-mole for a long time. You can't stop them.
Exactly.
You close them down, and then the guys are on the corner with it. But New York was the center of the speakeasy, so you should not be surprised.
Exactly.
They're doing it.
This is insane to me.
They're trying to invalidate all 463.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And any of them that fit into this cohort got an exemption from the local notice and having your site location before you file the application. That, I think, is what they're saying. They didn't have the authority to do. It's arbitrary and capricious, which gets around the rational basis test for what governments do. And it's just a game. Attorneys are making a lot of money here. Let me just tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure we're going to fix anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. James Flatbush. James Flatbush. He says, "I read the details of the lawsuit, and they're just a bunch of chads." He says.
Yeah. This is the most Chad Karen-esque lawsuit ever. But as we've seen, man, Chads and Karens with enough money, they win this shit. Mm-hmm. They win these types of things. And as much as the culture, the community of cannabis is all about helping those that need help, capitalism don't help people that need help. Capitalism helps people who got money to help other capitalists.
And to help other people, too. We give away for charity. We do 501c3s.
No, you give away for charity and capitalists for tax write-offs, man. Like let's be real. I was in finance long enough, and I know that come giving time is a time for rich people not to pay taxes. Like charity, like for the most part, charity should not have to exist in such a rich country like ours. Just keep it a buck.
You know what? In all fairness, I think you do have a point to that a little bit, Rico, just a little bit. Because I do think there is a portion of the population that just wants to sit around and do nothing and have everything fed to them. So excluding from that, I think you do have a point.
Yeah, the people who want to sit around and do nothing, right? We have enough money in this country; they should be able to do that.
Well, we don't have it anymore. We don't have it in our country anymore. We send it all to Ukraine and other places.
Strung out. They should not be strung out on the streets and addicted to hardcore drugs and subjected to a lot of shit. Because we have enough money to stop that. You know, there's 20 billion, or however many billions of dollars we spent on Ukraine and Israel. Guess what? $20 billion is all it takes to eradicate this country of homelessness. $20 billion.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we gave 40 billion to Ukraine. Crazy.
How much money have we spent since George W. Bush on Israel?
I agree.
It's only one for all this other bullshit that does not have any benefit for our country. In fact, it has direct ties to the detriment of our country. But we refuse to put up $20 billion to eradicate homelessness. Mm-hmm. We do not have our priorities in order as a country. And why? Because of capitalism.
I don't think it's because of capitalism.
But you know what? If you make $1 billion and you give away, $1 million to charity, you're a fucking hero now.
You're trying to make the bad the enemy of the good without blaming capitalism. You just have to blame the individuals. It's not.
This whole system, the capitalist system in America's eyes, is a snake eating its own tail.
I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that.
Well, what I could tell you guys from both sides of this, the corporations that I represent that are not social equity have the money to write big checks for me to go in and fight, okay? And I've got social equity applicants who ran into a situation where they didn't have shit to pay, and I couldn't afford to do what they needed me to do for free. So there you have it. Mm-hmm. There's a disparity in the ability to pay for attorneys to go help you with the fight. So the end result is the poor or the socially disadvantaged end up on the short end of the stick, de facto in reality, because they ain't got the money.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Blame it on whoever you want. The corporations that can write the checks, I can bring in consultants and people to come in and help me, and we're likely to win. Mm-hmm. I just had a client that needed $250,000 to sue a city. He couldn't raise it. We didn't have it, so she lost her license.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
And it's a reality.
Rachelle, you have any thoughts on this before we move on?
Let's keep her moving.
We're going to keep it moving. We're going to roll right into a commercial, and we'll be right back.